great day to you. It's a great day wherever you are, and I want you to recognize that and know that and continue to push through this day into the evening and into tomorrow, knowing that I'm not going to be dictated by what life throws at me, but I'm going to dictate the way my life is going to be. And you've got that power and you've got that authority to do that. Welcome to the Boyz II Men broadcast, and I'm your host, Terrell Murphy. You have tuned in to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte, where they are doubling the information for you as well as doubling the inspiration. I'm your grateful host, and I want you to know that being with you every week on this broadcast is truly a joy to my life. I want to tell you, I am so uplifted by the comments that I'm getting regarding this so necessary subject. And if you have questions or you've got comments, you can email me at askme@b2mnow.com. Ask me at b2mnow.com, because I know that there's a lot of information that I impart. There's a lot of revelation that comes out of my spirit for you, and I want you to be able to capitalize, to maximize, to really draw from great measure these things that I'm saying. And so if you need to send us an email, then feel free to do that. And a little later in the broadcast, we'll give you the email again and also give you the phone number so you can call in to us at Boyz II Men. As a matter of fact, we continue to move forward because we believe that we have been able to tap into some knowledge that is going to be a great blessing to so many mothers out there who are, some are being victorious. We want to help you become more victorious. And then there are some who are suffering in silence, and we want to come along beside of you and help you to move through every dilemma that you are facing by, again, taking authority, by getting knowledge, by getting understanding, and then by getting the courage to apply these things that you're hearing on the broadcast every single week. Parenting young boys is no easy thing, but mothers, we realize every day you're parenting those young boys and you're hoping that they become influential men to their families, to their community, and even to the nation that they live in. And that's my hope. That's my dream. That's my desire for you. That's why I sit with this microphone every single week, dropping nuggets of insight for you and to you in order that you would be able to move your son into that place of being influential. And that may sound like that's something that's unattainable because of maybe some of the challenges that you're facing with him. But your child carries with him great promise. But in order to get to every promise, there's going to be great challenges. But we here at the Boyz II Men broadcast, this is what we believe. We believe that about your son, and we want you to internalize this too. We believe that what's been planted into the lives of every young man is greatness. And I believe with everything in me, it has been. The challenge lies in being able to undergird that young boy and move him through life until he comes into an awakening of manhood. Coming into being a man and an awakening of manhood are two different things. Just because he's awakened to things of manhood doesn't mean that he's a man. Now, in the eyes and in the minds of our young boys, they believe that they are a man when this happens or that happens, but they're just getting an awakening. And so as moms, it's very important that you come alongside of that young boy and undergird him and help him to move through the ups, the downs, the things he understands, the things he doesn't understand, the right choices that he makes, the wrong choices that he makes, and move him into a place of manhood through walking with him. But that's going to take love, it's going to take understanding, and it's going to take skill, all of which we are releasing to you. And that's why I tell you every single week, you need to bring other mothers on this broadcast with you, because just think about this: the greater your son becomes, and the greater someone else's son becomes, and the greater someone else's son becomes, that right there can change a schoolyard. That right there can change a particular block in a community. And when more and more sons are added through the development of what you're getting as mothers on this broadcast. It's amazing how that can impact a town or a city or a village or a region, and it continues to go. And so as we're building momentum, I want you to be not just concerned with building yourself up and building your son up, but I want you to be concerned about building other mothers up and building their sons up. Don't be selfish with the information, but make sure you're getting it and you're giving it away. And I look forward to the great changes that are going to come, as well as I'm excited about the changes that are happening right now in your life and in the life of your little guy. Know this: the greatest constant in life is change. You may have heard somebody say that before. Change is the greatest constant. The thing that is always happening is because the one thing that you can always expect is that there will be required of you, mom, to get your boys into manhood. And one key thing of getting them into manhood is exposure, because exposure brings change. And your exposure to this broadcast is intended to shift all of you into a quality of life that you thought has or would have escaped you. Well, it hasn't. And because you are willing to move into a place of change and get that exposure, it's going to change your son as well. And I can guarantee you that. It's a great day. And we're going to return after this message. You're listening to the Boyz II Men broadcast on WDRBmedia and WGIV. Stay right where you are. And as we continue to bring some clarity to some of your chaos, you're going to find yourself made better. We'll be back in just a few.
Hey family, it's time to go get your blessing. This is Dr. Bizness, host of the Profit and Growth Hour and author of the anticipated newly released book entitled Birthing the Greatness Within. I'm sharing with you the keys to unlocking the greatness inside of you and how to birth it out so that your purpose can come to pass. For more information, go to www.drbizness.com. That's DRBIZNESS.com. If you'd like to know more about me, here's what others are saying.
I know and I trust that with Dr. Biz and them, that my business is going to grow. Profit and growth is exactly what Salon Encore needs to take me to the next level.
You know, my name is Mike Jones. I'm from Legacy Limousine as well. And I just want to say with Dr. Bizness, you know, you ever heard the saying that God put you where you need to be? Well, that's where we need to be with Dr. Bizness.
So go get your blessing by visiting www.drbizness.com and order your copy today.
Welcome back. And I want to say this to our moms. Hey, moms, look, keep reaching out to your network of mothers and encourage them to join us. I just referred to that a little bit earlier in the broadcast, but I'm very serious about that because I believe that great things can happen when great women come together and begin to immobilize around those things that can bring change and bring impact. This is what you do. Have them to download on their smartphone the free app TUNEIN. And then they can go to WGIV and listen at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday to the Boyz II Men broadcast. Also, at the same time, you can go to WDRBmedia.com or WGIVcharlotte.com and you can plug into us in that manner as well. We started at the age group 2 weeks ago, at stage 1, as we talked about the development of young men. Stage 1 being the years of 2 to 6 years old. And that tapped some of you mothers and you gain great knowledge from that. Then there's stage 2. Stage 2 I like to look at as the age group from 7 to 11 years old. So what we're going to do today is we're going to jump into what so many of you have been telling me you want to hear about, and that's the third stage. And that third stage is that 12 to 19-year-old age. Every mother out there, just if you've got a 12 to 19-year-old, just exhale. Just go ahead and take the time to exhale, because we know that you are carrying a lot because this age group is so very, very challenging. But moms, state the mandate with me. The mandate is your boys must become a man. He must become a man, Mom. And I'm going to walk with you so that the fruition of that comes to pass. I want to say this to you, that there are so many things, mothers, that you try in your parenting that never seem to work. But the tendency, because this is what we do naturally as people, the tendency is to continue to do the same thing, but expecting your son to change. Continuing to use parenting efforts or parenting logic or parenting anger or frustration or disappointment or whatever, but continuing to use parenting skills, but you don't see your son changing. You don't see your life changing. You don't see the two of you changing together. Again, as I said, the greatest constant change greatest constant in life is change. And so, Mom, we want to move you and your young man into a place of change through everything that you are learning and getting through those different stages of his development that we've been talking about. So as we talk about developmental stages, this is what I want to make clear to you, is that there is a systematic way in which your son grows. He doesn't just overnight become a 12 or a 15 or a 19-year-old. His growth is by design. Hear me very clearly. He's been made by an incredible creator, God, and his growth is by design. Therefore, your coping with his growth must be by understanding the design developmental stages. There are designed, crafted developmental stages that have been placed into your son's life because his growth, again, is by design, and it does you a great service when you are able to cope with his growth that is in place by design, because you understand the different developmental stages. And that's what we've done the last 2 weeks, is to bring you insight into those developmental stages. I know that we often wish that they would go straight from immaturity to maturity. Well, in actuality, they do. But the promise of immaturity to maturity has a lot of just stuff. you know, I'm talking about those things you can't even explain. What's going on with him? Just stuff. Or what's wrong with him? Just stuff. From immaturity to maturity, there's a lot of just stuff to endure and a lot of just stuff to overcome for you and him. And at this last stage, between the ages of 12 to 19, this is where it often appears that everything has just fallen apart. And I want you to know it hasn't fallen apart. It just appears like it's fallen apart. So let's explore that when we return. And again, you're listening to Boyz II Men. Keep it right there.
Katrina at Divine Touch Photography will magnify your moments, help you promote your business, improve your appearance, and enhance your memories. Divine Touch Photography does it all, specializing in weddings, private and social events, headshots, and so much more. Right now, you can get unlimited images and a free 8x10 glossy printed portfolio with the purchase of any individual or group photography session. For more information, call 704-813-9333. 704-813-9333, or just visit DivineTouchPhotography.com. Earn double the coverage and up to $200 off all event and wedding packages. Certain rules and restrictions apply. Contact a Divine Touch Photography associate for more details. That's Divine Touch Photography. 704-813-9333.
You're listening to the Boyz II Men broadcast, and it's your host, Terrell Murphy. So glad to be with you on another Sunday evening, and I hope you're able to pull away from that ball game for just 30 minutes. 30 minutes to invest into your own life, 30 minutes to invest into your son's life. I know a lot of football happening now. I know a lot of naps are happening now, but I hope you're seeing the importance of investing, and we've got a great show today, and I'm telling you, next week's show is going to be even more impactful impactful and powerful. So start gathering yourself and gathering other people together. Matter of fact, I'd like to hear from about 10 of you who came together just to listen to the show together and to begin to form a support team for one another. We're talking about the age group today of 12 to 19 years old. These years, 12 to 19, are where you begin to see your son coming to grips with who he is. And according to how he perceives himself, it really determines a lot about his decisions. I want to say that again. How he sees himself has a lot to do with the decisions that he makes about himself. If you watch his actions, they will tell you what his mind is thinking. They will reveal to you how he's really feeling about himself. And not just as a mother, but as a studier of your child, your son, as a learner of your son, as one who is attuned to your son. When you're able to tap into what he is doing, you'll be able to tap into how he sees himself, which will now give you the insight into how to speak with him, how to lead him, how to guide him, and how to direct his life in the proper measure of directing his life. But again, however he perceives himself, that determines a lot of his decisions. And those decisions, those real choices he makes, have major influence on his life. Mom, it's at this age group this age stage that you really have to interpret his behavior, not according to what he does, but as we discussed, because testosterone is playing a major role in how he moves through life at this period. But what can't be omitted is that there is a lot of brain development going on at this time. Yep, I'm going to say it. There's a lot of brain development that is going on at this time. Not just pimples, not just loud music, not just clothes stacked up in the closet, not just dirty trash everywhere, not just not wanting to do homework, not responding, grunting instead of saying yes ma'am or whatever. It's not just the pimples and the loud music, but a brain is still being formed. And I want you to think about that from a scientific perspective. The brain is still being developed. He looks like he may have it all together because of his stature, because of some of the comments he may make sometimes, because of his ability to dress well, to dance, to remember rap lyrics, to do something inconsistently that is right every once in a while. It may look like he's got it together, but his brain, well, I just want to say it like this. It's just not all there. In fact, a fully developed adult brain is not such until the mid-20s. So it's not until about the mid-20s. Now, my hope is that your boy is going to be out of your house by the mid-20s. If you got a son in your house that is still in the mid-20s, then that's a whole nother show, and that's something else that needs to be worked on. But his brain isn't going to fully develop until he's in the mid-20s. So, but Mom, I don't want you to become overly concerned with his behavior, because with that's going to come mood swings. There's going to be impulsiveness. There's going to be recklessness. Why? Because dude's brain is still developing. And the shifting is because the development of his brain is an intense thing. So it will take him out of impulsive behavior into impulsive behavior. It'll take him out of recklessness into recklessness, out of mood swings into mood swings. One day you're his buddy, you're his friend, you're his pal. The next day he acts like he doesn't know you. As I said earlier, dude's brain's still developing. And all of that shifting is an intense shifting, and it will create some things, but your key is to live with him in understanding and just get through this with him. I tell you something else as well. At this age group, he's going to be unreasonable, and he's going to be moody. I said that earlier. He's going to be unreasonable. He's unable to properly reason. He's going to have the craziest and stupid reasons for wanting to do things. Not only that, he's going to talk back, He's going to roll his eyes. We're talking about that stage from 12 years old to 19. And what you've got to be careful of is saying, well, he's big enough now. He's old enough now that I can put my hands on him. Well, that's not always going to help. Most of the time, it's not going to help. Because he's doing things that he's not even fully cognizant of. So again, he's going to talk back. He's going to roll his eyes. I know you can't stand this one. I've watched my son do this. He's going to walk away when you're talking to him. And he's going to mumble something like, oh, no. He's going to say all kind of things like that. But his doing these things, it's a lot. I know it's a lot for you, Mom. Not only those things that I talked about, but he's also going to do things that make you say, this boy is, or this boy acts like he's crazy. And I know you've already said things like that. Be careful, because if he's listening to my show today, he might say, like the scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, if I only had a brain. Because his brain hasn't fully developed yet. But don't you tell him that, because he will work that thing, and you don't want him working that thing. You want him being developed and growing better. But he doesn't need to be thinking that my brain isn't developed and that gives fully developed, so that gives me an excuse to do what's wrong. No, that's not the way the game is played. I want to recommend 3 things to you for this age group of 12 to 19. Number 1, Mom, don't freak out. Okay? That's my first recommendation to you, is don't freak out. Don't let anger get the best of you. Don't let a root of bitterness build up inside of your heart because you're upset with how he's acting, and then it creates stress. It creates distance. This is not the time to move away from him. This is the time to move closer to him. Be mindful, as I talk about not freaking out. Be mindful of what you say to yourself about him, because the world we live in is framed by the words that we use. You can build a world around yourself based on a lot of negativity you may say about your son. You may say, well, I don't know what to do, therefore you won't discover what to do. You may say, this boy is driving me crazy, and before you know it, you're acting in some ways that are not positive or good for your health, mental or physical. And so at this time, be careful of what you say to yourself. Don't down talk yourself. Don't tell yourself that you failed. Don't say things that point to negativity in your life about yourself. Be careful with how you speak to you, because you want to make sure that what you're saying to you is building yourself up and not tearing yourself down. And I see it happening. I know of it happening too often, and sometimes even every single day in the lives of mothers. Break out of that and don't give in to fear that makes you say things that you shouldn't say. But also be mindful of what you're saying to him at this age, because you're still forming his opinion about himself, or you're still being used to form an opinion about him. And the words that come out of your mouth are very powerful. They're very potent. They're words that he hangs on to, because regardless of how withdrawn or indifferent he may seem to you, he's looking to hear things from you that encourage him, that strengthen him. You can find what's wrong with him in 1 second. But I want you to take time to find what's right with him. I want you to take time to say those things to him that are going to strengthen him, but don't act out of fear and therefore down talk him and speak negative of his life, and always negative about the things that may interest him or concern him. Fear will talk you into concluding that he's going to fail forever. That's why you don't freak out and give in to fear. It will make you think that your child can never be anything, and you lose hope in that. And he loses hope in that because he sees you lose hope in him. But when you begin to rise up and not freak out and not move in fear, it begins to create the right actions with him. But when you're fearful, you create reactions from him that can also move into overreactions. You can say something or do something toward him that now causes him to begin to overact, or causes you even to overact. Why? Because you've become afraid that your child's going to fail. You've become afraid that he's not going to make it. Let me remind you of something, Mom. You weren't good all your little life. You haven't been good all your little life. And what you're afraid of is you don't think that the God that reached in and saved you and made you better can reach in and grab your son and make his life better. Look at where you are now, Mom. Look at what you've come through. You didn't get that way because you believed that there was nothing positive about you. Somewhere something ticked, something kicked in, and it's going to happen that way with your son. But what I don't want you to do is overreact because of how his behavior is, and then in that create wrong reactions from him that do what? They create rebellion, and they create a loss of respect from our children because of our actions. There are too many moms that are fussing and fighting with your children. There are too many moms that are reacting out of fear that this is going to happen to him and this is going to go down with him. But I'm telling you, just as you have been pulled out and strengthened and moved forward in life, it can happen in your son's life as well. But you've got to be careful about how you respond to the things that are going on in him, because you can send messages to him of doubt and hopelessness and anger and frustration and disappointment in him that will cause him to act out in other ways of rebellion, simply because he doesn't feel like he has a chance with the person that is so important and so valuable to him, and that's his mom. I want to say this to you. Inside your son, there is a reasonable, responsible, rational adult. And Mom, it's going to come through. The second recommendation that I give to you in this age group from 12 to 19 is give him space, but not a vacuum. What I'm saying is he needs to be allowed space. But at the same time, he needs to have boundaries in place. And you know your son. You know where he can step and where he can't step. You know what his tendencies are and what his tendencies are not. I can't dictate or verbalize all of that to you because you live with him. But I will say you this: he needs space. He needs to be able to get away sometimes into another room by himself. Doesn't mean the world's coming down. Doesn't mean he's doing something wrong or negative. He is just made like that, and it's a part of his DNA. It's one thing that testosterone does. It's one thing that development in him does, is it moves him to a place where he just wants to be by himself. Now, here's the key to that. Don't make a practice of leaving him to himself, though, because he must be attended to. He must be held accountable. And remember what I said earlier about the development of his brain. Don't make a practice of leaving him by himself. Why? Because he's not right in the head yet. So don't just leave him by himself all the time. You may leave him by himself at times, then come back and check with him. Well, how'd it go? What are you doing? What are you thinking? What's going on? And just come and sit with him. Just come and check on him. You may not even have to say anything. Just come and sit with him and just grab him and hug him. Just grab him and rub your hand through his head. Just grab him, just rub him on the back and let him know you're thinking of him, and you just stop by just to check on him for just a moment, and then let him get back to having his space. On the other hand, though, I don't want you to be without rules. I just don't want you to have too many rules. You don't want to have too many restrictions because you'll force him to rebel. The only thing that rules do is show us that we're wrong. There has to be a heart change in our life that will begin to adopt what is right. But rules show us what is wrong. And if we don't know how to move into what is right, because we know the rules of what is wrong and the rules that show us what is wrong, if we don't have the understanding of what is right, we'll never do it anyway. So you don't want to have a lot of rules and restrictions, because it will force him to rebel, because he's going to feel like, I can't follow all these rules anyway. So find the balance and discuss that with him. Find the balance and talk with him. You know, you're probably saying, well, you're wanting us to do a lot of talking to our children. Yeah, how about that? turning the television off? How about quit trying to do the things that just accommodate your life all the time? How about stop complaining about, I got to do this for the kid and got to do that for the kid? You brought him into the world. You're the one that had a hormonal rush and laid down, stood up, did whatever you got to do, and brought this child into the world. Now you're responsible for him, and I'm saying that in love. So don't think that you shouldn't be redeeming time by talking with him. Give him space to do his thing, but structure it so that you contain him so he's not doing senseless things that he is very capable of. And then lastly, hold the line. When you establish a limit, when you establish a boundary or an order, you stick to it. Enforce that this world has order. Enforce that the enforcing of the things that you're laying out of his life or to bring consistency into his life so that he's not living thinking that he can get away from an order or a stance or a boundary for his benefit because he's wrong often in a lot of things that he wants to try and to jump into. So you hold the line. Note that as he grows, you're going to have to renegotiate your stances. Why? Because him growing in age is going to require it. But when you're renegotiating these standards, these policies, these things you're putting in place in his life, renegotiation does not mean you will not stick to what you establish. It just means that you're just sticking to new limits. Because as he grows, you've got to give him more space. But you have to renegotiate all the time. He can stay up later, but you have to renegotiate that. He can stay out later, but you have to renegotiate that. Holding the line. When I say holding the line, that means I'm going to be strong right here. Don't take their crap. Holding the line means enforce respect in love. Holding the line means find reinforcement, find relationships, find positive, solid male figures that can be a part of your son's life. Holding the line means don't compromise on non-negotiables. There's some things that we are not going to compromise on, so don't even talk to me about that because you've got to hold the line, and he needs to understand that. I want to say this to you, that as you ponder and embrace these recommendations, you've got to apply them all in love. And I conclude with this admonition, Mom. In your own life, develop a heart of love. What's developed in you is what comes out of you. Your love for him will cover a multitude of his shortcomings. Your ability to love is crucial, because at this stage you will see more wrong in him than at any other stage, and nothing speaks to his acceptance that brings change in his life like your unconditional love for him. And I know that to be true, to be true, for I'm the fruit of unconditional love from God and from my mom. It's Emma's baby boy, Terrell, and I thank you for laboring with me to train up your young boys into men. Mom, you can't make him a man, but you can bring that man out of him. This has been the Boys to Men broadcast. Like us on Facebook, email us, tune in next week, bring somebody with you as we continue to move these boys into manhood. Take care. God bless you. It's Terrell Murphy. I'm out. Peace. Make your week great. Invest in your sons.
Cut. All right, that's good. Good cut.